No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of idols. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of idols.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and yesterday we had a pretty interesting day of League of Legends. Uzi came back, but was not very good. In Korea, we had two matches go pretty much as expected. Let me just get the results on the screen, which is proving to be very difficult. So in the LCK, we had Kwangdong Freaks beating Hanwha Life. We had Damwon beating DRX. Not much to say about there. Maybe we'll take a look at the scoreboards a little bit later. Then we also had LNG against Anyone's Legends. LNG took care of them pretty easily, if I'm correct about that. But the real story of the day is that Invictus Gaming played Billy Gaming, and Invictus Gaming won. Doggo played like shit in the first game, but then Uzi came in. I don't know what that is. So Uzi came in, and then he won the second game in a very lucky fashion, and then he lost the third game because Uzi is garbage. I was going to title this video, "Is Uzi the most overrated player in League of Legends history?" And I'll probably save that one for a later date. But what is this? What is this? Oh my god! Oh my god! The HEFF has returned. Alan, aka the HEFF, aka what were you, thing one or thing two? Alan 1 or Alan 2?
I think we determined I was number 2 in the end.
Fair.
Couldn't really hold the candle, but yeah.
Well, Alan 2 is back. Did you have any takeaways from the insanity of yesterday?
No, sir, I did not. I have one takeaway is that I sleep during the LCK and LPL and rarely have an opportunity to watch these days. I try to keep up a little bit with the scores and all that, but
So
as
you're
far as the games go, I'm out.
so you're a well-adjusted human being.
Just, trying to be.
Well, I don't think we have many of those people watching these videos. So in this video, in honor of Alan being back on the channel, we are going to talk about the LEC and the LCS, which are Alan's two favorite leagues. And I will run through the LPL and the LCK. I mentioned these a little bit in yesterday's video, so I'm not going to go super in depth. But we have Rare Atom against LGD. I think LGD is in a pretty good upset spot. Rare Atom hasn't looked good recently, but they're still listed as a -170 favorite, so that's kind of surprising. Weibo Gaming up against Ultra Prime. I think that Alan probably remembers the Shy and Sunning and how we love betting on them as underdogs, not as favorites. They're -370 favorites in this situation, so that scares me very much. But I still prefer that side. And then we have EDG against FPX. And again, I think this is a pretty good upset spot for FPX, but I don't believe in them enough to pick them. Then we have T1 against KT Rolster. I think KT Rolster is going to be one of the teams to watch for this week because they could definitely beat teams like T1 and Damwon. They've already beaten Gen G, which I don't know if they beat them when they had subs. I think they just beat them straight up earlier on in the season. And then we have Gen G against Sandbox, and Sandbox, as we know, hired Yamato Cannon, so they must be a complete garbage organization. But that leaves us more than enough time to talk about the two best regions in the world in the West. They're the two best regions in the West. I'll say that much.
They definitely are that. Yeah. I don't think that, like, does Australia count as the West?
I don't think so.
I think if it does, that's definitely racist. Like,
Oh yeah, because
there's
it's
a lot
like
of
they're
times
obviously not in the West. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's yeah, but yeah, I think they're the best two in the West for sure.
So what do you want to? Let's. I think we should talk probably about the LEC first, right? Because we have matches for that tomorrow. So we didn't have time to discuss this before the video started. But did you want to talk about? Did you make like a tier list, or do you have like an order in
Yeah,
what you think these teams are? Do you want to go through that real
yeah, I
quick?
do. Yeah, I
Eh,
can share my screen. Hold on, give me a sec here. Pull up.
I need some glasses. I can't be outdone in the glasses department. On your
Good
first show
idea.
back, we both have a drink. We both have glasses. That's fair.
I have a coffee drink. It's 2 p.m. where I'm at.
Mine is also a coffee drink,
Nice.
but mine's decaf.
Um, so they always, I don't know why this tier maker thing has a black background. Every time I make one of these, it pisses me off because like half the teams are black and it's just like you can't see shit.
True,
But
true.
yeah. So this is what I have for the LEC. I think Rogue is kind of in a tier of their own, even though that they've hit a shaky run of form. I think they probably they were playing a lot of the same style stuff, and Malrang was just kind of perma ganking lanes, and then the LEC caught up to that a little bit. But I think they'll be fine long term. I'm sure that they have other ways to play. Then in the A tier, I put our boys, the Misfits Gaming and Fnatic. I think that Misfits is probably the team that I'm the most different on from like general perception. I just think that they're legitimately really good. I don't think that like it's fluky at all the way that the standings look right now. Um, I put Vitality in the B tier. I think that Vitality could be in the SA tier. Like they're talented enough to be around there, but I'm kind of coming to terms with the idea that maybe they don't really get there. Perks has been Perks has not really been like elite for a couple of seasons now. Like obviously, I think his career is elite, but I'm not sure that he plays as an elite player anymore. And then Selfmade is interesting player in that like if you have Selfmade, you have to play for Selfmade, and that could be difficult. I wonder. I'm sure that they'll be a lot better come summer, but this season I could see them, being out in the first-ish round of the playoffs. And then my C tier is probably a little controversial comparatively to where most people probably have G2 and Mad Lions. I have not been particularly impressed by either of those teams. They seem to be coming back from behind a lot in their games, which I think is generally pretty fluky in League of Legends, or like at least not as repeatable as getting early leads. And so I I'm not in love with either of those teams. BDS is the team I want to be a lot better because they're the exact opposite. They get a lot of early game leads through good play from Syncroft in particular, and then they just like blow it late because they're stupid and they do stupid things. So hopefully, I think that BDS is a good buy low kind of team. Excel are fine. They're Excel. They're always kind of the same. They scale and do Excel things. And then Astralis and SK are really bad. And yeah, just really bad.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
more to say about them, really.
yeah. So I think that my tier list is pretty similar. I probably have BDS in the D tier, and I was talking about this before. I'm really afraid of BDS because of how they played last week specifically. there were a few points where it was like, well, your team composition should do this. If you don't do this, then you're kind of you kind of have no chance to win. And if you're playing in a way that caused you not to have a chance to win, then why would I want to bet money on you? Why would I want to support you? So I think that this is really the week where I'll probably make a stand one way or the other. But we can talk about that more as the games as we talk about the game specifically. I'm not as high on Misfits as you. I do understand that there are boys. So much of the Discord conversation has been about how Misfits is finally paying us back for all the money that they've lost us, but I haven't seen any of those dollars. And then that's basically it. I think for me, my top 5 teams are the same as yours. I do believe in Vitality, just from a talent perspective. So I'd probably have Vitality up in the A tier. I'm not looking at results for this split specifically. This is more of like by the time we get to Worlds, what I expect teams to look like because of their talent level. And as we get more time to get more results, I think we'll be closer to something like that. So I mean, I do have Rogue. I have Rogue, Fnatic, and Vitality as my 3 favorite teams. Then I have G2 and Misfits, and probably Mad Lions as well, but maybe a little bit behind. And then I have XL, and then I have the 3 other teams. It's a blend of like my long-term view of the teams combined with how they've played this split and how that might negatively impact my opinions of them. I think that the reason why I feel more justified in being low on Mad Lions than on Vitality is because of their roster. Like I think that Armut is okay, but he's not a great player. Elyoya is I've been saying this for a long time. I think that he's one of the most overrated players because of his playstyle. I don't think that he's a bad player, but people make him out to be like this elite jungler in the world, and he's definitely not that. So I'm not trying to... I guess it's almost like I'm splitting hairs, but, I just don't think he's the best compared to other carry junglers. Then Reeker, Unforgiven, that might be the biggest changing point for this team, is that the previous players allowed Elyoya to look better. He has had... I think that when you watch Mad Lions games, you kind of expect him to do things that he's just not doing. Because in previous years, he'd have more setup from somebody like Humanoid or Carzzy. But that's probably the biggest difference. Enough for the setup. So if you could unshare that screen. Let's talk about the matchups. We're going to go through all 10 games for this weekend. So I'll take the first game, and then you can give your pick. So Fnatic against Astralis. I'm on Fnatic. I'm assuming you're on Fnatic as well.
Yes, definitely. Is that first?
That is what I have it listed as on Odds Portal. I don't know what
You're probably right.
I don't know what it's going to actually end up being, but that's what I think it is. Game 2, Misfits against XL. Who do you got?
I see Misfits as like minus 150. Is that about what?
I have it at, yep, same thing.
Yeah. I think I like Misfits in that odds. What is that? Probably like 58% ish, 57, somewhere in there in the applied odds. And I think that Misfits is probably a 50, or more like a 65% favorite against Excel. I just like basically every part of the matchup for Misfits, but in particular like the jungle a lot there. And and there's like this weird reluctance to give Herit his flowers. It feels like on the broadcast in particular, I feel like they're always like talking about him as if he has like some like volatility to him, and I just think he's been really good since coming to the LEC, and he's really just he can play multiple styles. Like he's played tanks, he's played carries, and he's done it all pretty well. And I think I like Misfits at minus 150. What do you think?
Yeah, so I am on the XL side there. It's because of like I agree with you that that has been kind of underappreciated. It's funny because a lot of the time I feel like I'm not making the opposite statement. I always basically say like Hirat's good enough like to play well against good players, but then a lot of the time the lesser teams have top laners that are also good enough. So I think that the top laners in the LEC in general are about the same skill level. In this matchup tomorrow, we have Hirat against Finn. So it's like I talk a lot of shit about Finn because CLG paid $3 million for Finn.
Mhm.
horrible decision. I always meant that more as a dig at CLG, not really the player. Like
Yeah.
he's good enough. He's definitely a professional top laner. Like he's good enough to be a starter in the West, but he's not worth $3 million. And then like Marcoon against Schlatan. So you prefer the Schlatan side of things? I don't. I think last year I definitely would have said that because I wasn't as high on Marcoon, but I could see it either way, really. Nuke Duck, I've talked a lot of shit about Nuke Duck, and the thing is with Misfits, like we were so high on them because of the stuff that you're talking about. Like we believed in Hirate a little earlier than most people. Vetio, kind of the same thing. We believed in their team in general. We thought their players were good enough to be competitive against the good teams. They'd get into good spots, and then they would lose, and then I'd cry about it. I would like lose potential winnings. It was just a very sad time to be a Misfits supporter. But I think specifically in the bot lane, Neon and Mersa against Patrick and Mickey, I would definitely prefer that side of the matchup specifically. And I think it's because like even though I have a low opinion of Nuke Duck, has done a good job of getting him into drafts where he can compete with mid laners that are more talented than him, and then you always have the late game insurance from Patrick and Mickey, and a better like playmaking upside of Mickey compared to Advienne. I thought the move was kind of stupid, but it's kind of working, so I get that. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything with that move. I don't think they're going to be competitive at Worlds or anything like that. They probably won't make it to Worlds. They probably won't make it to playoffs the end of the split, but like they do look a little better. So I'm on the opposite side, but it's also because I would prefer to get my money on the dog in that spot. I don't think there's a huge edge or anything. I get the Misfits pick. So that's
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I think like DraftKings wise, the Excel side is probably a better play to me, but I think on a betting line like -150 is pretty reasonable for Misfits.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like when you're betting something that's between -150 or -170 +170, you're not really always looking for value. Like if you think it's a completely wrong line, then it's like sure. But for the most part, these are matchups that are close enough where you're just picking like gun to my head, who do I think is going to win the game, not trying to seek out value at all.
Yeah,
So I get that. Next game, Vitality against BDS. I'm on Vitality. I have to be on Vitality for the rest of the season, otherwise they're not going to make it to playoffs. So
Yeah, it's I wish that the line was shorter. Like Vitality still they really aren't given room on the lines because I would like to buy on Vitality a little bit myself, but
yeah,
like -278 against BDS, who I'm also kind of, I would like to buy on a little bit for the rest of the season. It feels a little rich, but I don't even know that +215 is like good enough for BDS to me. It's probably worth it for like a small stake, but I wouldn't go nuts with BDS. Like I like Misfits way more than I would like BDS in this spot.
so what number would BDS have to be for you to like instant bet it?
I'd suppose like +270-ish. I think would be more where I would rate them, which is like what 30% win chance.
Yeah, so there are two more games. You talk about the next two games. I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna punch in all of these matchups for LEC and LCS. So we'll have the implied odds and everything like that.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so the next game was Rogue against Mad Lions there. Rogue is a -233 favorite and Mad Lions +170. It's a close-ish spot from a betting line. Like this line looks pretty good to me. I think that I obviously prefer Rogue. It's also a decent enough spot to buy on Rogue too because they lost a couple of games to teams that are perceived to be in Mad Lions' range, and I think that Mad Lions is probably a little overrated at the moment. A Rogue kill spread. I'll look at what I have for that. A Rogue kill spread against Mad Lions is a -6.5, which I think like in most of the games that Rogue wins, they probably cover. But if I was gonna have to bet this line, I think I would bet on Rogue at -233. But I probably just wouldn't bet because best of ones betting bigger than -200 is always it's a little sketchy feeling. And then there's the SK against G2 game. Not a lot to say here. I don't think SK is bad and has been lucky to win a couple of games now, and I think that this is an easy G2 spot. I think that the Rogue G2 parlay, actually, if you were trying to, turn something into a near +100, is probably pretty good, because I think there's probably a tiny edge on -286 for G2 and a tiny edge on -233 for Rogue. So combining them to get to +100 feels pretty good. Um, I'm not even that high on G2 generally, but I think that if you like look at the matchup lane by lane, you're gonna like the G2 spot pretty much everywhere. So G2 Broken Blade against Gen X, definitely like Broken Blade more than Gen X, although Gen X is a fine top laner. I think Broken Blade's ceiling's a lot higher. Yankos against Gilius, definitely Yankos. Gilius is the worst. I hate that player more than any other player. I think he's lost me more money than any other player. Once every season, he goes on like a little hot streak where he's playing like some Kha'Zix bullshit, and the league doesn't understand what's happening, and then he just like steamrolls for 2 weeks, and then he's horrible again. Certus against Caps is a gap of epic proportions. Flakked against Jezu Flakked and Targamas against Jezu and Treats is also, I think, a gap in G2's direction. I think that Flakked and Targamas have been pretty good, especially Targamas so far. So yeah, I think that one's an easy G2 spot to throw in with other teams if you're someone who doesn't like betting -286s in a best of one.
I see. So what were your picks for those last two games? It was favorites, right?
Yeah, Rogue and G2. Yeah.
Yeah. So for your top 5 or 6 teams, who do you think each of those teams is kind of like built around, or like is the most important player for future success?
Interesting question. Rogue. I think that the team is built around Larson in a lot of ways, but probably for them to be, far and away the best team, I think it has to be Maurang, and Maurang has to continue to be sort of the best jungler in the LEC. And then,
so when you talk about like Maurang being the best jungler in the league so far, like I think I agree, but I think that the reason why he's the most important player isn't if he continues to be the same type of player that he's been so far. In order for them to really have like the elite upside and be competitive at Worlds, I think that he needs to show the carry side of all these matchups and like bring out more carry champions. He hasn't had to do it yet. This could be a situation where they get into the first round of playoffs and everybody's like, oh, Malrong's not that good, just ban Jarvan and he's not going to do anything. And then he'll just pull out like 5 different carry champions and absolutely steamroll in the first round. That's what I think is the upside for a team like them.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that that's the case. It feels like that's the case to me too. Like I don't think that Malrang is just a ganking jungler only player. Like I think he could probably play the carries just fine. I mean, there's a reason that Damwon had him kind of lined up right to take over eventually. So I don't think he's a limited player.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So because I'm gonna take a look at go to your next team. I'm gonna take a look real quick at the matches that he played on Damwon last year. I just want to see what champions he was playing.
Yeah. Fnatic, I think, is built around Humanoid. Unfortunately, no. I think Leroy's actually like really good. Uh, he's a frustrating player because of how good he is and how stupid he can be sometimes. But like, for them to reach their potential, he's gonna have to be, their best player and one of the best players in the league.
I thought you were joking. I'm being honest. I thought you were completely joking about him being the most important player, and I think that you also know how much I hate him. So I thought you were just trolling me at first, but you really think that he's like the most important player on the team? Well, because I think that you can definitely make that argument if you say that he's the most important because he's the one who might fuck it up the most. Like, I would get that side of things because if he has a diverse champion pool and can consistently go to the side lanes like with different kinds of champions and he's not dependent on like TF or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely see that argument.
Yeah, his laning stats though, and I mean if you just watch him, like he is like a pretty dominant laner. Like, he gets ahead of pretty much everyone in the early game just laning phases, and then then the problems begin. But I don't know, like if he can reel it back like he did at the end of last year for Mad Lions, like I think that he's really good. So I do think that he's probably the most important player. I mean, Hillsong is obviously like kind of the heartbeat of the team, but it's tough for me to be like the support has to be the best.
Yeah. We'll never agree on that, but let's just move on. We'll never agree on that.
Misfits, I think it's VTO. If VTO's champion pool keeps expanding and he keeps showing that he can play more than the Zoe Ezreal stuff that last year he kind of carried on, then I think that Misfits upside is really high, because I think that when he's on comfortable champions, like he is one of the best mid laners in the LEC. It's just like it seemed for a while that maybe you could ban him out a little bit, but I think he's grown quite a bit, and I'm hopeful that he'll keep going that way. And then Vitality, it's so hard to say with Vitality because they're literally just all supposed to be superstars in their positions, but I think that Perks has to be the guy. I mean, Perks has to be elite again, for Vitality to reach their ceiling. And I would probably bet on Perks to be elite again rather than not, but I don't know, man. He does fall behind a lot, it seems, and he always kind of has, from a pure laning. Like, you were never like, oh, Perks is completely dumpstering someone very often in just pure laning. Like, he was always kind of a great team fighter and then a skirmisher when G2 was at their best. But I don't know, he does get really,
or an 80 carry.
Yeah, or he was an 80 carry, right? Yeah, but he does seem to get really behind these days, so that's something that concerns me about them.
I see. Okay, reasonable. So just to go back over everything. Well, not everything. To go back over my picks before we go to the LCS. I have Fnatic beating Astralis, XL with the upset over Misfits, Vitality beating BDS, 2 beating SK, Rogue beating Mad Lions, XL beating Astralis, SK beating BDS in an upset, Misfits upsetting Mad Lions, Vitality upsetting Rogue, and G2 upsetting Fnatic. And the second day is going to be a potentially very scary day for me.
That was a lot of upset in the second day, and not the player.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a lot of the very close matchups. Like, you're just trying to pick the winner. It's not about getting value. It's just like, who do you think is going to be the better side of this matchup? So like that combined with what's most likely going to be reduced ownership on DraftKings and stuff like that. Those are the teams I want to give the first look.
Yeah. Do you like G2 more than Fnatic long term?
Um, let's talk about that. Do you have future lines on them right now to win the split?
I can probably find him.
Yeah, so Wonder against Broken Blade, I prefer Broken Blade. It depends on how powerful like Enchanter tops and alternative methods of playing the game are. Because if it's very important, then Wonder just gets better and better. Because he's always willing to play a new champion. Razork against Yonkos, I think that Razork is better, but again, it depends on champion pool and what champions are very important for the meta. If it's like Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, Jarvan, like we're gonna get so many of these jungle matchups that both sides is kind of the same, and then you're gonna start getting like Hecarim, Volibear, Trundle, and these champions that kind of counter, like Lee Sin when he gets very popular. Well, not counter, but it, like has counterplay to him or attacks a different part of the map. Caps against Humanoid, I'm definitely Caps favorite on that. I think he might be on the Humanoid side. And then Flocket and Targamas against Upset and Hillsong. I prefer the Upset and Hillsong side. But Flocket and Targamas are interesting to me. I don't know what they would do in a best of 5. I don't know how they would perform in a best of 5 series against a team like Fnatic. That's really kind of what you have to make your mind up on going into a match like that. I would want to see what champions have they been playing recently. What champions are really strong on the patch. I could see them being better than Fnatic. I don't think that it's likely, though. Did you get those future lines?
No, there's it looks like there's nothing out there right now, which is probably.
So what's your take on this matchup?
I mean, I think it's kind of close, but the way that the two teams have played so far, like, I would definitely prefer Fnatic in this particular match. Like, long term, I could see them, getting closer together, and obviously, like, I know that's how you generally like view things. Like, you always just kind of want to stick to a long term analysis because obviously that's gonna work out for you in the long term. But like, to me, I don't like how far behind G2 is is getting so far. I think that Yankos has been kind of average so far, and when you sacrifice your jungle to gank lanes and it fails, like you just give up so much gold a lot of the time, and that seems to be happening a lot to G2 right now. So I think I prefer Fnatic there.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at the lines. So what happens is on Bet365, which is this website that I use, they pull like the LEC and the LCS pretty regularly. Like they'll pull it off the market.
But the outright, you mean, or the
the outright to win the split.
Yeah.
And they're starting to change up their futures on the LPL as well, which I might need to take a look at. Let's see. I'll look at that real quick.
Yeah, just the offshore are typically the odd setters on esports, it seems like, and they all have them off the book as well. So that doesn't surprise me that Bet365 doesn't have it either.
So BLG was at plus 700. Now they're plus 1100. That's kind of surprising. Weibo Gaming was at plus 700. Now they're plus 500. I got that one. V5 was at 1000. Now they're at 650. I have that one. FPX was at plus 1200. Now they're plus 2000. So I got a bad number on that one. JDG was 3300. They're still 3300. Ultra Prime was 4000. Now they're 8000. That's kind of surprising. OMG 5000. Now they're 4000. So not too many big changes. I'm fine with those numbers still. Actually, there are two big changes, but I'm fine with it still. It doesn't really matter. It's like a lot of those were like $20 bets. But let's go over to the LCS.
Do it.
So, do you have a tier list for the LCS as well?
I sure do.
All right.
Let me pull her up. Okay. Do you have it?
Yep.
So I have Team Liquid in a tier by themselves. I think that actually the gap here is pretty large, especially with Core JJ coming back. Like, uh, I think that Team Liquid probably has an argument for best player at their position in basically every position now. Whippo probably the best top laner in the league. Jungle is the one that would be the most debate, I'm sure. But I think that Santorin's still a very good player. Bjergsen probably not the best mid laner in the league, so that that one falls apart, I suppose. Uh, and then their bot lane, I think, is clearly the best bot lane in the league. So Team Liquid number one. I don't know what their future odds were like. Did you
They got pulled again.
Yeah, yeah. So Um, honestly, I would make them like plus 150 probably to win the split. And
The odds, I do have the odds from earlier on. Team Liquid is at plus 125.
yeah, okay. So so with the book, so I guess that's that. uh, then the A tier, I have Cloud9, 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses. I I'm really debated putting 100 Thieves down in the B tier. I don't really think of them as like a serious contender for like international competition. Could they win a split again? For sure, I think they can, but I don't like the way that they play very much. I think that they have a pretty like set way of playing where they do the same things in a lot of games, try and get ahead early, and then they have no idea what to do. And I think that mostly centers on closer. Cloud9, I think will be good. This is more of a future ranking. I think they could get into the S tier as well if Fudge is good. He is not good so far. That's why they're hiding him on enchanters and stuff. But I could see him being good at some point, and then I think Cloud9 could be up in the S tier. EG is pretty good. I really like them. I want them to be better, I think, than they probably actually are. Inspired is really good. Maybe the top jungler in the league. Uh, and then their kids have very good mechanics, but do some dumb stuff as kids do. So they could also grow into the S tier for me, but right now they're definitely a tier below Team Liquid, I think. Dignitas and Golden Guardians in the B tier. Um, Dignitas, just like solid, above average players, basically across the map. I think. I I know that you were also high on them before the season. I drafted them in that esports best ball because I was like, why do people have this team in 10th that is like
Yeah.
uh, has like average to above average players all over? Like it doesn't compute with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, Golden Guardians pretty similar, just like average across the board. I think it's a B. Uh, TSM is the team I cannot put a finger on at all. I don't know anything about their LDL guys. I think that the strategy that they're trying is really interesting and good, and I wish that more teams would do it. I mean, it's basically what C9 did, right? They picked up a couple of academy guys from Korea, and TSM did it with Chinese players, but the problem with TSM is that they're owned by a 12-year-old who runs the team on his whims. And so I can't trust them to do anything. So I, C tier is probably really low for their actual like talent level, but I just see them being a dumpster fire all year because uh Reggie just gets to treat them as his personal passion project, and that is not a good thing for them. So I put them in the C tier because I don't know what to do with them. FlyQuest I also put in the C tier. I think they kind of suck, but they do interesting strategies from time to time, and they've always done that. And so they punch above their weight often. And then CLG and Immortals suck. They're really bad. CLG could be a little bit better. Obviously, they have some young guys who hopefully get better, but so far they've been bad.
Yeah, contracts looked horrible.
Yeah, so I don't really expect anything from either of those teams.
Did you mean to put FlyQuest in the B tier with Dig and then Golden Guardians in C tier with TSM? Because FlyQuest is you're not convinced by FlyQuest being 3-1 at all.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think that like the league is just not used to playing against the roaming top yet, and when when they figure it out, it's gonna be the end of FlyQuest.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. So could you get rid of the thing? And then, so I'll do mine real quick. Mine hasn't really changed either. I do believe that Team Liquid is a very strong team. I think that Evil Geniuses is just as good, and I think that they will be better long term. I think in the top lane, Bwipo does have the upside of being better than Impact at this point in his career. Inspired is definitely better than Santorin. Jojo Pyun, I think, is not as good as Bjergsen right now in terms of consistency, but I think his volatility is actually a benefit and will be a benefit to Evil Geniuses in the long run. Once we see like a larger sample size, I think we'll begin to appreciate that more. And then Hansama against Danny. It's funny because I love Hansama, and he's been one of my favorite AD carries for a long time, and I always talked him up. Like, people would say stuff about Upset being the best AD carry in Europe, and I kind of always thought it was Hansama, partially because of some of that volatility that he introduces into the game as well. But I there's something about Danny, he has to be better than Hansama. Maybe not right now, but he will be better than Hansama. I just can't help but shake that feeling that his upside is better. And then Vulcan and Core JJ, I mean, if you put either one of them on the opposite team, I don't think it's really going to change that much. I understand why people gravitate towards Core JJ and talk him up, but I think that between those two is kind of splitting hairs. With 100 Thieves and Cloud9, I probably prefer Cloud9 because I want them to be successful. I like the fact that they look at all these interesting ways to draft. I do think that they get too much credit and not enough credit at the same time. Like, I think most people just completely misunderstand what they're trying to accomplish in the game. And the thing that scares me is that what if Cloud9 doesn't fully understand what they're trying to do with the game? Because I don't doubt that LS has a very well thought out like theory about the game and understands how to apply it to the game. But what if he's wrong? What if he's missing some fundamental part of the analysis that turns his concept into something that's more practical? Because you see things like the Karthus draft and the Enchanter drafts, like, they are good, but it's very similar to the FlyQuest thing where, like, how good is it and how much of it is just teams not being familiar with it, which is a benefit in its own right. Like, I'm not trying to give them a demerit for that. 100 Thieves, they're going to be a very consistent team. I think they're kind of the measuring stick of the league. Dignitas, I think that Dignitas has chances to be good. Again, if River, I think that River is kind of similar to Malrong in my mind because River hasn't done anything super impressive yet either, but I know that he has that upside because we've seen him do it before. When I looked up Malrong's champion pool before, he does not play a ton of the carry champions that would unlock that upside that we're talking about. So maybe that should temper our expectations for him a little bit. But at the same time, I just don't think that it's reasonable to think that he's incapable of doing it. I just think he doesn't do it on stage for the most part. So I don't know if that's a coaching thing or like a confidence thing. For Dig, Fake God is like he's an okay player, but not a great player. He's a league average player in my mind. River is probably a top 5 jungle. Blue is a good but not great mid laner. There's not a lot of great mid laners in the LCS, so you don't really need to be great. And then Neo and Biofrost, I think, have pretty good upside. They're pretty interesting to me. For me, I would say that Golden Guardians is probably in a lower tier. And I'm fine leaving FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, and TSM in the same tier. I'm not sure how I'd really order them. I assume that TSM is going to be the best out of the three of those once they figure it out. But again, I just don't really have a strong lean either way. CLG has looked horrible. Specifically contracts, he dies way too much. I appreciate that he's willing to try to make plays, but if you're missing at that rate, then maybe you're not seeing it correctly.
Scale back.
Yeah, and then Immortals, a tragic roster construction. Every time that they talk about building around revenge, I just want to stab myself. So that happens all the time. So I've thankfully not stabbed myself yet.
They saw him play like one good game last year, and they were like, "That's our fucking guy."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the scary part, is that those people are making decisions like that. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say besides that. So let's talk about the games for tomorrow. So do you have all 10 games in front of you or no?
Yes, I got him. Yep.
Okay, so you go through yours. I'm gonna punch the odds in, and then I'll go over my picks again from yesterday.
All right. So the first one is I have is 100 Thieves against Golden Guardians. With Golden Guardians at a plus 215 underdog. I think that's a great Golden Guardians spot. 100 Thieves is a team that will lose to anyone at any time, basically, and I think that Gold Guardians is definitely good enough to take advantage if 100 Thieves does some late game blunders like they're known to do. Now, obviously, like they could play a perfect game like they did against Evil Geniuses the other day, and then they close it really quickly because they were in control basically from the word go. But I think that like if it remains close, 100 Thieves does a lot of questionable stuff in late games that makes plus 215 too good to pass on Golden Guardians. Uh, Immortals is minus 156 against TSM's plus 115. That is the wildest line I've ever seen. That's the TSM spot of a lifetime. I get that like they're internally exploding, it seems. They're firing coaches and giving a guy who moved continents to come play for them. They gave him 4 games and said, "Get the fuck out. We can't do it with you anymore." But they also still have like Hooney and Spica on this team. Like I don't really get why they would be underdogs to Immortals, and I'm sure that that's how everyone feels. So that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm definitely slamming TSM in that particular spot. Team Liquid is minus 189 against EG's plus 137. I think that EG is definitely the play there at plus 137. It's it's a close enough matchup that a dog that's plus 130 or more is definitely the play for sure. They're both just really good teams, and I like them both. And then Dignitas is minus 204 against FlyQuest plus 147. Feels like a no bet spot to me. I probably expect Dignitas to win, but I don't want to lay minus 204 on a team with Dignitas talent. And then Cloud9 is minus 1250 against CLG. That is like 89, 85, something like that implied odds. That's
91.
91. That is ridiculous. Obviously, you cannot bet that, but I also don't know if I want to bet CLG at plus 572. I probably do. I mean, you could put just like a tenth of a unit on there, put $10, right? 10 to win 500. That feels like you probably have to do that with a best of one on CLG, who could have their day, I guess, against Cloud9. Or Cloud9 could play Karthus jungle again, and Blabber could just clearly not know what the fuck he's doing on the champion, and then you're live again. So I think, yeah, you probably gotta do the CLG plus 572.
That was so that was so tilting, the Blabber ultimates, that
Yeah.
that was very upsetting to me.
I love when one of the oldest champions in the game, like Tryndamere or Karthus, gets played, and then you're like, have these guys ever played with or against this champion before? I mean, obviously, they're doing it at a much higher level than I ever would, but it's just mind-boggling to me that this champ that you've been seeing for, going on 15 years.
The only rule of Karthus is don't die don't get interrupted while you're casting your ultimate. That is the only thing that you have to do. If you want to cast your ultimate so bad, just run into the enemy team. They will kill you, and then you get to cast it for free. So just that's all you have to do. I don't really understand like how that even happens. Like I get the idea that they want to like have the ultimate go off before the team fight starts, because it'll make it more difficult for them to contest them if they back off onto an objective. But you're just playing the game on hard mode. Just let the fight happen naturally. Like, if you get the positioning first and then they have to walk into you, you're still going to get poke damage on them. So you're going to be playing from ahead.
One of the main benefits of Karthus, right? Like, if you can set up early and then just die, you're in good shape, right? So
Yep. So what were you on? You were on C9 CLG?
Yeah, I just finished Saturday's games, yeah.
Yeah, so for Saturday's games, I have... did I do that? Oh, so 100 Thieves against Golden Guardians. I'm on the 100 Thieves side. I'm not going to bet Golden Guardians even at that number. Immortals against TSM. I completely agree. Definitely a TSM spot. They'll make us cry. Apparently Shengi was talking to somebody on stream, like in Chinese, and he was saying like, I want to be the shot caller. Like, they need to let me do what I want to do, and we'll be better. I love that. And I don't think that he's benched. I think that he's just playing academy, and then will also play in the LCS.
The wording on that was very vague and strange.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why they left that open like that. I think you might be right.
Yeah, just the community backlash alone. Like, they should have been more conscientious of how they kind of talked about it. Team Liquid against Evil Geniuses. You had Team Liquid, I'm guessing. Or did you say Evil Geniuses with the value?
I like Evil Geniuses with the value.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Dig against FlyQuest. What were you thinking on that one?
I just passed altogether. But, I mean, I think that Dignitas is going to win. Yeah. That's one of the games that I didn't pick a side. I think that this weekend is a spot where you get two good FlyQuest matches to like think about betting them as underdogs, because them against FlyQuest against Dignitas is theoretically a good spot for them at such a big number. So I think I'm leaning in that direction. And if I play them on Saturday, then I want to play them against 100 Thieves as well. So spoiler alert, I'm taking them against 100 Thieves as well. I agree with that for sure. I think plus 220 against 100 Thieves is way better than plus 147 against Dignitas for me. Yeah. And then C9 against CLG. That's a spot where I kind of agree with you. I want the chance to win with CLG, but I probably will not make that bet. At least not until the draft happens. If the draft happens, like, there's a 1 minute delay. So like theoretically I can get money on it once I know what the drafted champions are. Usually the last game too is from the studio, right? I don't know. Yeah, I think they've been playing the last game like live, because the problem with live betting is like a lot of times the book is ahead of you on the viewing. Yeah, well, it's a good thing that Bet365 does is that they have it in real time. So their whatever they're getting from their API, they're releasing it based on their API, and they have like a little screen where you can see the map and you can see the champions and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. That's cool. Yeah, and that's a regulated book in Jersey. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So then I hope we get something like that soon. Yeah. So I'll do my first look at Sunday. I did this in a video the other day, so I'll go through it pretty quick. So Evil Geniuses against Immortals. I'm not playing Immortals against almost anybody, let alone my favorite team in the LCS. Then we have 100 Thieves against FlyQuest. Again, I'll probably just be playing FlyQuest because I think it's a good spot for them. I don't think that they are an elite team, but at 181, I mean, that just seems kind of insane for a team that's 3-1. TSM against Cloud9. I'm on the TSM side. I think I want to lock in this number before. I don't know if I want to do it before. I want to probably do it after their match against Immortals, or maybe I would like get a half a unit on it before the game against Immortals and then try to bet another half depending on how that game goes, because like
there is no way that TSM is as bad as they've looked. And I think they may have found something in that last game. Putting Tactical on a hyper carry and Huni on to Lulu. Did Huni look like he knew how to play Lulu? No. Did it still almost work? Yes. And that's the crazy part, is he was so bad. He might be the worst, like, well, I mean, that's hyperbolic. But his Lulu performance was horrible. It was just so bad. And it still almost worked because when you draft that type of team composition, you have those opportunities. And if TSM is on the blue side, they can take the same blueprint that Team Liquid used. Like on blue side, you pick one of the hyper carries, you force Cloud9 to play a utility AD carry or somebody with less upside, then they're less likely to play enchanters, and they're more likely to play aggressive champions like they did last time. That's why they picked the Karthus against Team Liquid, is because they felt forced to get some value out of draft in a different way, but it's a much more difficult style to play. And then we have Dig against Golden Guardians. I'm on the Dig side. Golden Guardians, I mean, they can definitely beat Dignitas. If Dignitas beats FlyQuest convincingly, then I think I'd want to bet Golden Guardians, because they should lose against 100 Thieves, and then I think we'll get some more value out of that, hopefully. And then the last game of the week is Team Liquid against Counter Logic, and I will not be countering Logic. I will be picking Team Liquid.
Minus 2,500.
It was 14.29 yesterday.
That is absolutely incredible. That is a hell of a line. But the problem is they don't give you enough on the other side to make betting the other side worth it, right? Like, it's not like it's like, plus 1,500 for CLG. It's plus 800. So
yeah,
you're probably just burning money by betting CLG, but I'll probably do it on both of those games.
Yeah. So what did you think? Were you in step with what I had? Basically?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty locked in with you there. I think that I would bet the TSM one now, personally, just because I do expect them to beat Immortals, and then their number probably gets worse against Cloud9.
Yeah.
But if they lost to Immortals, then it's like you probably have like a plus 700 on TSM, and that would be quite nice as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically it. Alan, thanks for coming by. Do you have any parting words? Are there any teams that you're watching specifically that you have high hopes for, or any players you want to single out?
Yeah, I'm hoping that there comes a spot where BDSM plays G2 or Madlands, and they're like plus 200 or bigger, and I can't wait to do nasty things with that.
All right. Well, on that very strange note, that's all.
Let me go pick up my child from his nap.
Yeah, that's all we've got for you today. Again, thank you, Alan, and thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully, we can do this semi-regularly. But yeah, that's all we got for you.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Talk to you later.